how do you give someone that indication or that perspective without them having to blindly leap across the chasm of unemployment? Look, it's hard. I think
up salaries, right? For business development.
Yeah. Big OTE is really hard. Don't worry about the financials. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Look, it's and this is the other piece of the puzzle too. Is there's the branding component that's client facing, and sometimes again there's a risk in focusing entirely on that. Like there needs to be an element of your brand that's accessible to prospective employees who look at you and go, gee, I want to work there. They're working on some cool stuff. They're saying some cool things. Again, the transparency component comes into it. Like, what is it actually like to work there? How do you give someone that indication or that perspective without them having to blindly leap across the chasm of unemployment into a new space, hoping and praying that it will be what everyone said it was in the 3 interviews that you've had or the 6 interviews, depending on what sort of structure you run. So it's difficult. I had historically done it through a network. Like we'd release an ad, but I'd typically try and sound out prospective candidates that I'd worked with. And this is the other thing about business development generally, is that network works 2 ways in that it facilitates new revenue opportunities for our business, but also allows me to connect with a whole range of people who may never spend any money with us. And that's probably, this is more of a general comment, a lot of people focus on business development activity having to generate a revenue outcome immediately and a direct revenue outcome. But there are so many ways in which that could work for you. Could be indirectly, could be word of mouth, and those sorts of things are quite often discounted in the pursuit of an immediate return or that sugar hit. We need a new project tomorrow. Yeah. In our space, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
So the same though applies in respect of attracting the right talent. Is you can't just all of a sudden be a cool and good place to work. You have to be you have to communicate that to the wider world. You can't pop up with an ad and be like, hey, look how good we are. We're excellent and fun, and there's a pinball machine and all really cool stuff.
Yeah.
People aren't necessarily going to believe that.
No. And they never have. I remember, obviously we ran massive campaigns for big law firms, but we talk about years of investment.
EVP.
And it would be 2 to 3 years of being there and understanding that you need to do these things. Either that or just a shitload more money. There are certain drivers that are really important to certain people. And some businesses do that. There are some, businesses out there that are just willing to pay to get people. US firms around the world, for instance, have always had that model, right? But that investment piece over time, it's exactly the same with your brand and the marketing in terms of the long term. We've spoken about how everyone talks about these silos, marketing's here, BD's here, CX is here. It's not. It's this interconnected
Everyone has a role
web.
to play.
And each bit feeds the other in a really interconnected way. And I think that's hard in an industry to talk about that when people are used to being professionals and actually being quite solid in the delivery of how they do things.
There's a few people I've worked with over the years who are I hate sales. Yet, their repeat business is through the roof. Their service delivery is insanely good. They're always available. They manage expectations, but they hate sales. And I'm like, mate, you are sales. Whether you like it or not. And everybody's this. And this is the thing I've always hated. I remember when I left the law, that people looked at me like I was a moron. What are you doing, you idiot? You've been here for 3 years and you're gone? And I'm like, in my internal person, I was shit scared, but and I'm like, they're probably going to be right about that. But the reality is, and I think people need to start coming to terms with this is that we're all salespeople. Whether you have a title that has sales or business development or commercial manager, call it what you like, or whether if you interact with a customer or you even do something that interacts with, like we have a huge back-end team that facilitate the ability, our IT team has a role to play in sales. If I can't connect to my computer and speak to my client when I need to, then that's a failure. So like everybody, either directly or indirectly, is a part of retaining or growing the business. And I think more people need to own that. And they simply don't. And there are some...
think it's dirty. It's not a dirty word, sales. It's adding value to clients. It's solving their challenges. And surely that's why you do law. And you speak to people and ask, or any job. I don't, do this just necessarily for the goodness of my heart because I love getting up every day and going, I get to work. Because I want to help clients to solve their challenges. That gives me a buzz and I enjoy that.
Yeah.
And surely anyone, lawyers and others, want to see really happy clients.
And you made a good point before that, like, the money you make is a byproduct of the result. Like, you achieve the result and people pay a fee commensurate to the value.
If you're really good at it, they pay you a big fee.
Yeah. And hopefully what they get out of it is they feel like they got value from it. That I paid for that and that seemed like a fair price to me because the outcome that I was after I achieved.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to pay X for that.
Yeah. And people will pay more for an outstanding service. They will pay more for an outstanding service. You're going back to client experience. If you provide an outstanding client experience, they're more likely to forgive detrimental mistakes. They're more likely to pay you more than they currently do. They're more likely to use you in 2 years' time. Like all of these things, and to recommend you to others. It comes down to the bottom line as well, like just providing that outstanding experience. And you're right, it's every single person in the business who contributes to that.
Yeah.
We talk about, the pizza delivery. There's an analogy again, but it's a combination of touch points throughout that experience, which makes me go, would I use Domino's again? It was average, no, probably not. Next time I'll try something else. It's a combination of speaking to the receptionist, dealing with the junior lawyer, speaking to the partner, getting fobbed off by someone else, getting an outstanding experience from the junior lawyer, but actually the receptionist again was really rubbish. Combination of those which gives you the outcome, which means whether you're going to pay more or not.
Yeah.